Hello everyone, and in this video we are going to learn about the what if analysis based on scenario manager. So here we have a quantity which is 1000, price per unit which is 80, fixed cost 5000, variable cost per unit 30. I have calculated the profit. So I can show you the formula that how I have the calculated profit, and I hope you have the knowledge how it is calculated. It is a simple mathematical calculation multiplying per unit selling price and the cost and subtracting it with the quantity. Okay, so let us come to the scenario manager. So first listen it very carefully. So I am describing the conceptual side of the scenario manager, that how and when you have to utilize the scenario manager. So basically scenarios are an Excel analysis tool, and we know about it, and which like the data tables as well. And when will switch to the example practically, so you can get an idea that how it can be utilized. And also we have some very good features in the scenario manager as well. So scenarios are basically like different versions of the same worksheet model, and which each version using a different set of input values, we can define different input values more than two events, which was not in the case of goal seek or the data technique, right? And before creating a scenario, you need to construct your model on the worksheet and decide which cells will be the input cells and or the changing cells. So we need to very carefully define them, okay? And to make it easier, you create scenarios to make the resulting summary reports more comprehensible. Okay, so let's quickly jump to the scenario practically, and we will be creating three different scenarios which are already written on your screen, that is base, present and the best. Before applying the scenario manager, what we need to do is we will go to the data tab, what if analysis, and we will click on scenario manager. Okay, so that will be our dialog window. Scenario manager will appear on your screen, and we have some multiple options available, and I will try to explain it. So the first, as by default there is no scenarios has been created. So first we need to create a scenario. So for doing that, we need to click on add button. Okay, so when we will click on add button, first field is saying that define the name of the scenario. So let's say first we define the base scenario, the second field phase, which says you need to change in this scenario. So I need to change two cells. The first one is price per unit, that's the selling price. And the second one is variable cost per unit, because fixed cost will remain the same. So I would like to change cell B4. And if you want to change multiple cells, you have to add comma, space, and then select the next cell. And I will come to this protection site, which says the prevent changes and the height. I will discuss this later on after I will finish this example. Then when we can use this prevent change and the hide option in this scenario manager. But first, let me quickly review. First, we define the name of the scenario, then the changing cell. Okay, so we are in our case. We need to change two cell, and I will press OK. So when I press OK, the scenario value of the screen now appears, and on those two cells, I need to set a value. So for example, I need to set price per unit to a lower side, which is 70. For example, my new value will be 70 of price per unit, and my variable cost per unit will be 25 in the base scenario. And I will click OK. But now you can see that you have a base scenario available on your spreadsheet. Now we will add two more scenarios, which is the present and the best one. So for the present, again I will click on add button. I will define a name to it, and I need to change these two cells before and B6, which is absolutely right. And I will press OK. So for the present scenario, definitely we will go with the present prices, which are price per unit and variable cost per unit is 30. So now we have two scenarios, and then we have the last scenario, which is the best scenario. So we will again click on add button. We will define the name of the scenario. Definitely we want to change the B4 and B6 in our case. But remember that in your case, if you are working on PNL and other kind of report, you might have more than 2 or 3 variables as well. So now is the best scenario. I need to increase the price per unit, which will be 120, and the variable cost per unit will be 50. Now we have 3 different case: based, present, and the best. Now the awesome part of this utility scenario manager is, for example, if your manager says, convert this entire data into the best scenario, I need to analyze this current scenario in the best scenario. So as we know, we have already defined the best scenario variables within this scenario manager feature. So what we can do is, I will just click on best and I will click on show button. So as soon as I click on show button, as you can see that on the back end price per unit and the variable cost per unit changes. And ultimately we can see that if a company can go with the best scenario, it can earn a profit of 65,000. Now later on, if a manager says, what if we go for the base case? So I will click on the base and I will click on show. So if the company goes with the best base scenario case, definitely the profit will reduce or decrease, right? So ultimately, we can change the scenarios one by one in the scenario manager. But what if we have created 3 different scenarios and we need to see all of them together? We need to see all of them together in different spreadsheet. So yes, we had that option available as well. So you can see there is an option called summary. When I click on summary and it gives me a 2 option, either create a scenario summary or create a pivot table of the scenario. So first we would try to create a scenario summary and I would press OK. So as soon as I create a scenario summary, you can see that on one spreadsheet, we can see 3 different scenarios at one time, right? Now there is one limitation, or might be your question comes in. You can say, Shubham sir, instead of B4, B6 and B7, I need the names of these variables because I can't see the name here. And I need to either link manually. No, that's not the case. If this kind of situation comes in where you can see the absolute cell reference, and instead of these cell references, you need to get the names of the line items. So let me tell you a quick technique and we will improve our scenario summary sheet. For doing that, for getting their names in the scenario summary sheet, what you need to do is basically you need to give the names to these cells, and there is a concept called name ranges. I hope that some of you might have an idea about what are name ranges. Basically, we define a name ranges. We give a name of our own choice in Microsoft Excel. It can be related to one cell, it can be related to multiple arrays as well. So for giving a quickly name to a cell, there are multiple ways to do it. The first way is to go to the name box type the name manually. The second way is to go to the formula tab, and from the name manager, you can define a name of that cell. But let me show you one very good technique to giving multiple cells names. Okay. So defining all the cell names, giving them names, what I will do is I will select this entire range. Okay. These 4 lines, and I will go to formulas tab. I will click on create from selection, and here from the create from selection builder, I will select left button, left column. Now why I am choosing the left column here? Because these cells will be defined names, but those names will be picked by the left column. So this 1000 cell, which is B3, will be given a name which is called quantity from the left side. So all the names are presented on the left side. That's why we are choosing left quadrant. So that this means all these 4 number cells will be defined a name from the left side. And when I press OK, and then I will go to the name manager, you can see that within seconds all these 4 cells has got their names, right? Now let us see if I create a scenario manager now. So instead of those absolute cell references, could we find out the names, proper names or not? So for doing that, what we can do is we will go to the data tab, what if analysis, and we will click on scenario manager. And we know that we have already defined 3 scenarios. So I will quickly jump to the summary part and I will click on OK. So now as you can see that price instead of B4, it is giving us price per unit. Instead of B5, it is giving us variable cost per unit, a proper name for the report, the proper name of the report. Now, why this B7 is being allocated here? Because I have not defined the cell profit. Here, for example, if I define the cell B7 into a profit name, and when I regenerate the summary, this will also not show. Then we go to data tab and what if analysis scenario manager, and as some of you, so now as you can see that whatever names we will be defining for those cells will appear in this scenario. It is summary spreadsheet. So the last thing which is remaining in this video is that you have seen tool features which is called prevent and hide, and then we will be using those features, right? So prevent changes prevents user from modifying the scenario at a later date or a later time. This will only take effect when the worksheet is protected. So it happens that when you share a financial model with someone else, you protected the sheet. So you don't want to prevent the changes of your scenarios, right? In that case, you use the prevent changes. And about the hide prevents the user from being able to see the scenario when the workbook is open. So that's how you can hide the scenario from the user as well. Okay. That's all for today. Thank you.